New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
And hello again, dear ones. Rev Briz with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
Patrick Harbula right here.
And this is New Thought Today on the New Thought Media Network. Happens every Tuesday afternoon at 2 o'clock. My co-host Rev Z and I get to have some of the most amazing conversations with some of the most amazing people about the state of this philosophy we call New Thought and the future and where it's taken us. Our guest today is Reverend Patrick Harbula from the Living Purpose Institute. And we were talking before the show. You said that you've been in this philosophy since the early 80s. So you've got some time on me, that's for sure. But Patrick, please introduce yourself, share with our audience anything else they might need to know before we get our conversation started here today.
Well, introduce myself. I'm all about joy. That's just did a workshop the other day called The Joy Factor, A Life of Infinite Freedom. That is the title of one of my manuscripts that's in process as well. I'm the author of The Magic of the Soul, which pertinent to our teaching is used as curriculum. We just revised. In fact, it's been used as curriculum for almost 20 years now, through first RSI and now through Centers for Spiritual Living. And we just revised the curriculum about a year ago, and it's now called The Journey of the Soul as the curriculum. So, I would say it combines a lot of spiritual psychology, transpersonal psychology, and new thought. And I think that's why it's become such a valuable resource for our teaching, because it brings together the concepts and practices of new thought as well as spiritual psychology.
Beautiful. Yes. Thank you. And now you're located in California, Ventura County, and what we learned is born and raised there. So that means that you were sort of in the path of Hurricane Hillary. Is that not true?
We sure were. In fact, I was sharing with you guys that I did at the North Hollywood Church of Religious Science. I spoke on Sunday, and here's the funny thing, and I said this from the stage, that the last time I spoke there, we were in the peak of a worldwide pandemic, and this time we're in the midst of a hurricane, right in the eye of the storm. So I said, I guess I only show up when there's some kind of major calamity. But I'm not taking full responsibility. Maybe I'm there to be a healing force. So we did a workshop in the afternoon that I thought we were going to cancel, called The Joy Factor. And at the first service, I said, if we were presenting the most powerful workshop ever presented in the world, how many would show up? And a bunch of people raised their hand. And I said, how about the second most? Anyway, we laughed at that, and then 20 plus people showed up. So we did the workshop in the midst of the storm, and then an earthquake right in the middle of it as well.
Oh, wow.
So, I heard about that. 5.1 and only 10 miles deep, right? So, yes, Southern California got to see it all.
Yeah, they got to experience real life, if you will, as they might call it, and still live to tell about it, which is always great, right?
And our workshop was just radiating streams of love and joy, and so maybe that's why it wasn't as bad as they said it would be.
Yeah.
I'll take responsibility for that.
I like it. It's that joy. That joy has that effect. It warms the heart, it moves the spirit, and it makes things that seem impossible possible.
Absolutely. And since we're talking about joy, I'll give you my definition of joy as I use it for the purpose of my book, for my workshops and teaching, as well as for my life. That is joy to me. How I'm using it is not the opposite of sadness. That is happiness is the opposite of sadness. That's a personal experience. Joy to me is a pervasive spiritual quality that can be present even in moments of sadness or grief or loss or any human emotion. And because it's a spiritual quality, it's lasting. It's not happiness. It's not instant gratification. It's long term. And so what I encourage people to do is to use joy as a compass, meaning ask this question. Well, I won't go into that yet, but ask this question when making any decision: what will bring me the most long-term joy? How will I feel a month from now if I go this route, or a year from now, the larger decision?
Yeah, sounds a lot like gravity. It's always present. You put yourself in a certain relationship to it. Certain things are going to happen. It ain't personal. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. You have to figure out which side of the law, if you will, or the principle you want to come down on.
Right.
Absolutely. I love using joy as a compass. Mm-hmm. It's not somewhere, it's not a destination, but it's a guidepost. And I have long used that question as well. As you were sharing it, I'm like, now who did I get that from? Because I'm sure I borrowed it from somebody. Maybe it was you. I don't know. But I've been using that question in my own life for quite a long time. Is, will this bring me joy? What would it bring me even greater joy if it were to happen in this situation or in this opportunity? So thank you for bringing that forward today. That's a great little piece. Our dear friend Shay is on and watching, and she says that she also loves that definition of joy.
All right, Shay. Thanks for...
Cool. Now, one of the other things that I know you do, and I want to learn a little bit more, and I want you to share with our audience, is you have your own YouTube broadcast that you do with your lovely wife once a week. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So we call it Thought Shifting Thursdays. And we do about a 15, 20 minutes, sometimes goes longer. And my wife goes, cut it off. That's enough. And what really, we usually come up with a subject about 30 minutes or less before we go live. And really it's whatever's happening, excuse me, whatever's relevant to our lives in that moment, because I find that, if that's what will bring us the most joy to talk about is, what's relevant, what's coming up. Oftentimes it's something that has been coming up for my clients as a life coach. And so we'll just go into some depth about that, and we have fun with it. We usually have a lot of laughter. I love it. I used to do these on my own, and then when I invited my wife to be part of it, it became a lot more fun.
Exactly. So I think all of life becomes a bit more fun when we include our significant other and our partners in what we're doing. So,
and we're a team. So whatever we do, when we first got together, she was new on this spiritual path of New Thought, and but as we've been together and she's been getting more involved, she's become a leader in my organization. And so we pretty much do our workshops together, our retreats. We do a retreat on Catalina Island once a year. I've been doing these retreats for 30 years in different locations, 10 years in Canada. But the last 6 years we've been doing on a private beach, rustic camping on Catalina Island. And so we co-facilitate that, and it's 25 people or more for 5 days. This year, it used to be 3 days. Then the tribe demanded that we do 4 days, 3 nights. And this last year, the last 2 years, they demanded it be 5 days, 4 nights. And so we finally acquiesced and decided we do it. But the 4th day will be no agenda, just enjoy nature.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Yeah, I was going to say you're talking about joy. That should do it. To be out communing with the divine and just in an observation and reflective mode and no schedule. Just
That
allow life to unfold. And I think the more we can do that in our normal life, it always seems to help me.
LJ, you're tuning into into the experience of the retreat, because that's what it is. I like to call it the anti-workshop because we're not disseminating any information.
Yeah.
It's about getting out of our heads. We're filled with information, right? Every day of our life, we're bombarded with it. Getting out of our heads, into our hearts, our bodies, connecting with Mother Earth and Father Sky. We call it the Primal Fire Spiritual Awakening Retreat. And here's the way this came to me a few years ago. As in our culture, how we generally learn something is we think, oh, I want to learn about this. I get a book, I read about it, or I take a class. And so we get it mentally. And then when we practice it, think about it, it filters down to the emotions and we start to feel it. And then we put it in action, right? And then it becomes integrated, embodied. But when we're in nature, what happens is I see an eagle fly and I get the understanding of freedom, and it instantly downloads. It doesn't have to go through those processes. It instantly becomes embodied mentally, emotionally, and physically. And that's the difference between knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah.
Knowledge is up here. Wisdom is fully integrated.
Yeah. And that's what they say, right? They say wisdom is knowledge and information that has been embodied. Because if I have information and it has no context, it's just that. It's just data points. Mm-hmm. If I have a context for that information, now it becomes knowledge. And if I'm able to implement it in my life, now it becomes an experienced wisdom or an experienced learning that turns into wisdom over time. And now I can tell various stories that contain that wisdom for a specific situation, and it'll cover a lot more bases than just say, here, read this book.
Right on. And that's why I've been doing these for 30 years in nature. And usually only a couple of times has there been accommodation. It's almost always tent camping. Here's a funny story. One time we did this in Ojai at some hot springs up there. Everyone had their little cabin. No one had ever complained about anything with the tent camping. As soon as people got a cabin, mine isn't as good as theirs. And now there's ownership, right? Now there's separation.
My hot water isn't hot enough.
Exactly.
Well, and I love that because, one of the things that I'm involved in and have been for a while is rites of passages. And when you have a rites of passage process that involves being outdoors, there's many of them, but when you're outdoors and it's in a natural environment, let's say, all of the privilege, if you will, and all of the status and all of those things that we sometimes get caught up in go away, right? Because you tell people to dress in a modest way or whatever. And so if I don't know you before I get there, I don't know if you're rich, poor, married, not married. And so some of the pretension, if you will, pretentiousness goes away, and I have to meet you heart to heart where you are.
Yeah. Again, you're tuning right into our retreat because, what we tell people is just be who you are in the moment. If you're sad, cry. If you're angry, shout at the ocean. If you're joyful, laugh out loud. And when how often do we have permission to let go of our roles and just be who we are in the moment? Mm-hmm. People are given that kind of permission. What needs to be healed just comes up easily and effortlessly. And then because and everyone finds that they're being loved for just who they are in the moment. And of course, because there's no showers, it's rustic camping, no, people's hair is a mess. And find out. And then we actually had this start a couple of years ago. It was my vision for a lot of time. People started skinny dipping and going in nude, and people were healing their body image stuff because here I am out here completely naked. And I'm still respected and loved. So maybe I'm okay just the way I am.
Yeah.
I think that's a hugely powerful and empowering opportunity to create for people, or whether it's skinny dipping or something different, but to check out of what's expected of us, to leave the cell phone behind, to get away from, oh, we're here and we're going to sit in a group and we're going to learn something, and then we're going to have this process, and then we're going to do that thing, and then we're going to go to lunch, and then we're going to go do this, and to I love the way you describe it, the anti-retreat.
Yeah.
That is truly a communing with a part of us that many people, for whatever reason, have become separated from. Maybe they've been told by society you can't do that, or the pressure to feel like they have to earn money and be at work, and the grind of a corporate job or something, to really have an authentic way to unplug and experience that whole other side of our lives differently.
It's a complete reboot. And it's just amazing. You mentioned the community. I mean, we have every year over 75% of the attendees have been before, because people just keep coming back. We have people that have been, this is going to be his 9th year, because he even came up to the ones I did in Canada. We have people from Canada come down to this one. So it's become a tribe of people that continue to support each other, even in between, the retreats.
One thing that hits me, you talked a little bit earlier about the psycho spiritual part of your work. And it reminded me, there's this poem called "We Wear the Mask" by Paul Laurence Dunbar. But it alludes to that mask that we put on, and the various masks that we all have in our little backpack that we have to sometimes rummage around in and put it on at the right place. And when we can get beyond that, and as you say, stand and deliver and not need the mask, it begins to allow us to really get in touch with the oneness of it. Like you said, people get in that experience and they can get into the oneness, and they don't have to hide, and they don't have to shame or feel shame. And then over time, they forget the mask, right? And which again opens up for this oneness, which opens up this experience of joy, because I don't have to get ready to go out to a dinner party and change my clothes 10 times just to make sure I'm looking like whatever when I get to the dinner party, and not feel self-conscious.
Now you're tuning into my whole mask motif. If I took the computer into the room next to me, you'd see about 150 masks on the wall. So I'm serious. One wall, we've got high beam ceilings in there, and one wall has got 100 alone on it.
Oh, nice.
And it is exactly what you're talking about. And every one of us has every one of the expressions, of every mask there within us, right? We are a collection of beings.
Yeah, it reminds me of that Carl Jung motif of personas and archetypes, because in essence that's what we're doing. We're playing out the story, if you will, one way of describing it, where we have these characters and we play them all, and we are the backdrops and the foregrounds and the antagonists and the heroes all in one story.
Yeah,
and the key is to figure out that we are all faces, all characters, and be comfortable with it. And when you play it to the fullest.
Absolutely. And bring love to every aspect of ourselves. I mean, that is the most important part of our teaching. Any teaching is self-love. And, since you're bringing it up, I do a lot of voice dialogue with people, which comes from psychosynthesis and other transpersonal psychologies. And I'll give you so when I do voice dialogue with people, what happens is, and I've done thousands of these sessions with people, is whatever we think is the problem within us that's holding us back from creating the life that we want to live actually contains within it the qualities that we most need in order to create the life that we want to learn. But we don't have full access to those qualities because we think they're the problem, and we're resisting them. The thing that I say probably 20 times a week is whatever we resist not only persists, but magnifies, becomes stronger. Whatever we embrace becomes our ally, our teacher, and our healer. So this is like the way to do voice dialogue on the fly, is anything that you don't think you like about yourself, imagine it as a small child or an infant. And how would you as a loving parent want to respond to it? So I hear teachers say, hey, we got to embrace our shadow and bring love to everything. But then I'll hear them say it in another context, I got to get over this fear so I can go do something. If you said to a small child that's fearful, I have to get over you, how will it respond? It's going to become more fearful. But would you want to do it? Give it a hug. Say, I love you. It's okay. I'll keep you safe.
Yeah. I love that. And the work by Hal and Sidra Stone is just, I love that voice dialogue work.
There you go. Exactly. Hal Stone. Right on.
Absolutely. I love this conversation. There's an inherent piece that I'm hearing reveal itself too, and that is that when it comes down to it, our job is to love and to recognize that people want more than anything to know they are loved. And sometimes I may not agree with someone's behavior, or I may not agree with their choices, but to separate those behaviors and choices from the person they are. And for me, the masks represent that visual reminder of I am that I am. I am that. I am that. I am that. And I am that. And I am that as well. And in all of it, if I can love all those aspects of myself, I can love all those aspects of those around me as well. And that's where I think real transformation occurs.
Yeah. And that's the essence of it, right?
That's the essence of everything. Love is the answer to every question.
There it is, folks. 22 minutes in, and we've solved every concern of the world.
Yeah, it's like that song. I love it. That I forget the title, but the chorus line is, we are here to love, serve, and remember. And that's just why have you come to earth? Why have you, took this moment to be here? And it's to love, serve, and remember. That's the answer to them all. You're right. I agree.
Beautiful. Well, folks, we need to take a quick break and let some of our sponsors say hello, learn a little bit more about what we're doing here around New Thought Media Network, and give our guests a quick chance for a sip of water and a breath of air as well. But we're going to come right back with more with Reverend Patrick Harbula after these messages. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You are a gift. That is the absolute truth. You are a gift, a blessing to the world, a way that the infinite love of God shines itself, shares itself, and expresses itself more fully in the world. You are a gift and a blessing. Please take that seriously. Take it as your honor. Take it as your opportunity to be a light that shines for others. Be that bright light of God's love that's the truth of who you are, and enjoy it, because you deserve it.
All right, we're back with more of New Thought today here on the New Thought Media Network. I'm Robert Brzezinski, my co-host Elzia Sekou, and our special guest, Reverend Patrick Harbula, from the Living Intent. I just did it. I knew I was going to mess it up. The Living Purpose Institute, forgive me. And we've been sharing already this afternoon about love and retreats and getting unplugged and getting back to our natural side of life. And, Patrick, one of the questions we always like to ask people here is help us to, or if you would, share with us, what is your vision for where New Thought, this philosophy and all its various forms and iterations and ministries, what do you see as kind of the future, maybe of your ministry specifically, but also the greater movement coming in the world?
Yeah, well, first off, I'll say that there's so much talk in the movement today about doing church differently, right? I mean, we changed the name to Centers for Spiritual Living to get away from religiosity and other reasons as well. Excuse me. And so there's a lot of focus. My ministry is a focus ministry. There's a lot of focus ministries out there that are expressing our teachings in other ways than brick and mortar, Sunday service things. And I've never had the desire to be a pulpit minister. Somebody asked me the other day, where's your ministry? I said, everywhere. And so, but I respect people that do. I know that's quite a job, holding down a fort like that. But I love to see so many ministries out there that are doing so many service projects that are bringing these teachings through service, to the community. We do sweat lodges here at my home, ceremonial sweat lodges, non-traditional sweat lodge. And we have a lot of young people that come here that would not be introduced to these teachings if it wasn't for finding it through a very different kind of practice or ceremony. And the amazing thing is that these young people who come to these ceremonies, and in their sharing, when we pass the talking stick, and in their prayers that they say, in Mother's the Womb is what we call the sweat lodge, are as profound and wise as the most celebrated teachers in our movement, because the information that was shared through books and classes and things is now everywhere on the internet. It's on everyone's phone every day. And so these kids now, a lot of them haven't integrated it. They haven't gotten to that wisdom place because they haven't had enough experience to, but they have it. They already have the information here, right? And it's profound.
Yeah. So again, we're back to taking that information, that wisdom, and finding a way to create an embodiment experience. A way to activate that within ourselves so we can take it out into the world.
Right. And also, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and the key, I think, is what we've been talking about is how do you package, for lack of a better word, the content with the context, with the actual experiment, if you will, at the right level, right? Because we have these different styles of learning, audio, tactile, kinesthetic, or whatever, right? So if I'm dealing with a kinesthetic person, if all I'm doing is talking, they're like, yeah. They don't hear any of it, or they don't even hear it, right? So you have to find enough to get them to draw them in, and then you got to switch gears, or vice versa. Another person, you got to be able to switch these gears, which calls for us, as they say, having religious services or spiritual services and practices in a different way and in a variety of different ways.
Yeah. That is such a great point. I've been saying for years that I think one of the reasons our movement, Science of Mind, is not as popular as a lot of other self-help things out there is our number one practice that we emphasize is primarily auditory. spiritual mind treatment. It's what you hear, right? And I think spiritual mind treatment becomes more relevant to more people when I see people, and I try to bring visualization into it, bring feeling into it. So for the kinesthetics like me, right? And the other, Robert, you want to say something?
Well, I think you just struck on something that I'd never quite articulated. And because if our primary form of connection is auditory, that means every one of us is a singer. And I don't always like I don't like the same singers as you do. I don't like the same artists as other people do. Some people's voice get on my nerves and I can't hear what they're singing. And other people, it's like angels pouring their heart out. And I'd never quite equated it this way because I'm absolutely in agreement with you. We have to have something more than just, oh, I've heard these types of words before, and a judgment call as to whether I like your voice or not, whether I like the way you present it, and find a way to give younger folks, people new to the philosophy, a way to engage and interact that isn't reliant on, I'm going to tell you how to feel and I'm going to blah, 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 write it at you over and over again.
Yeah. And the most important thing I'm going to say, we already touched on it, self-love. I feel, and I was saving this getting up on my soapbox about this until this part of the program, about the future of New Thought. I would say, I've said this from the stage many times, that I feel that, I'll throw out some numbers. People could argue with this, but that somewhere around 75% of our teaching is how to manifest what we want. And then we have another 20% or so that's focused on spiritual practice, including meditation, which I'm a meditation trainer for almost 40 years. So I love that. And that might include some self-love, and then maybe 5% specifically on self-love. But here's the thing. You could know all of the principles and practices on how to manifest what you want. But if you don't love yourself, you're not going to manifest any more than you feel you deserve. And what we deserve is completely tied in how much we love ourselves. And even in our program, I meet many practitioners, some ministers who know these principles, practice them, but don't have a high degree of self-regard. And therefore their lives are not where they want them to be. So I believe for New Thought to become more relevant, that we need to shift that percentage on its axis. And first year science of mind, whatever we call 101 now, ought to be all about self-love.
Yeah. Well, I think another key there that you made clear to me is, we 75 plus or minus on manifestation, and almost all of that manifestation is for me, right? Which does not give us the greatest opportunity to share that love of manifestation with others, right? So if we get back to that love, serve, and remember, yeah, I need to learn how to do the manifestation, but then at some point I need to switch gears with that and serve others and give them ways and means, if you will, to learn how to manifest. And as you said, it comes directly out of self-love. I mean, how many pairs of shoes do I need to prove that I can manifest? How many parking spaces do I need to find right when I need it? I mean, goodness gracious. At some point, okay, this thing works. How do I begin to help others see it? And then we begin to get a bigger magnet so that manifestation comes into a great community, a great school system, a great candidate for this office. And that's where we are now when we step into the social justice realm, because I may be doing good, but if everybody around me is doing bad, pretty soon my good might be jeopardized. And we have to, I believe, start moving in that way with joy, because they'll see it.
I think one of the greatest tools we have in our that's been developed in our system in recent decades is Michael Beckwith's kingdoms of consciousness, the 4 kingdoms of consciousness, or stages of consciousness, right? So stage 1 is victim consciousness, life happens to me. Stage 2 is life happens by me, right? That's when we find positive thinking, love, attraction stuff, new thought, and we realize, oh, if I change my thinking, I can actually affect the world of form, right? And I can manifest things. And then what I see happening for people is they get into that and they start manifesting parking spaces and all these things. And then all of a sudden, trying to manifest something and it doesn't happen, or something I don't want to happen does happen. I get an illness, I have a financial downfall, and then I think, oh, it doesn't work anymore, right? So one of two things happens then is I either give up, say, oh, it worked for a while, but it doesn't now, or I evolve beyond that and realize and go into stage 3, which is life happens through me, right? So now it's not just my ego or personality that's manifesting things. Now I'm realizing there's a higher purpose, a higher force that involves, as you say, Elzia, that involves service and community and oneness. And how can we do this for all of us, right? And then, of course, life happens as me when I realize that there's no separation. I am the principle. I am. I've said many, many times that I used to feel that, I'm an introvert by nature. So when I get up on stage, it's not about me, the person. It's about spirit moving through me. But what I realized more recently, that a more accurate statement is, rather than spirit is moving through me or speaking through me, it is me, spirit, speaking through this personality known as Patrick Harbula.
Right. Yes. You, spirit speaking as Patrick. Absolutely.
Sounds like we're back to some kind of math situation here. I don't know. That's just, I don't know.
Yes.
It's another way of God showing up in the right place at the right time with the right persona, if you will, to deliver the message.
Right.
And you know what? You said this, Elzia, that what I've found is, a lot of people, say get rid of the ego. The way to heal the ego, and there's nothing wrong with the ego. It's just a younger part of us that needs love. That's it. People want to get over the ego. Guess what? You resist that, it gets stronger. But I have found that the most profound and effective way to heal ego or to evolve it is through a path of service. Yeah. And the further we go down that path of service, what I find is the more we recognize it's not about me, the personality, it is about the oneness that we all are. I like to say that we is the new I. We is the new I.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I want to borrow that one. We is the new I. I like that. And in all of this, I want to reiterate a point that I heard, and that is, truthfully, if we spend the first 75%, if we spend the first months in this learning how to manifest, but we haven't come to love ourselves, it all just becomes malpractice. We're manifesting things that aren't going to serve. They're going to prove to us we can do this, but then we're left with the question of, well, why the heck did I call that into my life? First, so I'm really, really jiving on the to remind people we want to get to that self-love first. We want to get to that self-love as rapidly as we can, because then from there, the demonstrations are in alignment. From there, the healings are effective. From there, we can open up to a greater vision. From there, we actually can embody and understand how to flow with these 4 kingdoms of consciousness. So it's we don't set out to do this, but in some ways, there's I think there's a call to organizations to let's reimagine and re-envision how we teach this philosophy, how we introduce this to people, and what tools and how to use those tools we give them first. Yeah. Rather than just, let's go find some parking spaces and then we'll figure it out from there.
Yeah. And that reminds me to say that, and I've said this many times, that, if a person is filled with self-love, you could, well, let me turn it around. You could have read every sacred text that's ever been written, memorized the Science of Mind textbook, and everything else. But if you don't have self-love, you're not going to have a joyful life. If you have a high degree of self-love and are experiencing joy in your life, you don't have to know any of it. You will just naturally be manifesting a joyful life, because that's what it's all about. That's what all these teachings are designed to get us to, is this overflowing experience of love, because that's all we really are, is pure love.
And you just hit a real touchstone with me in that, oftentimes people misunderstand self-love for selfishness.
Yeah.
Because it's not always articulated in a manner that they can understand what that means. And I know for me, I had to switch that mode into a thing of, I need to love myself, because it gives me permission to understand the process that someone else is going through when they don't show up the way I think they should, or the way I expect them to. Like I just got dropped there.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can still hear me if I'm all the way out, but this idea of self-love, when it's put in this proper perspective, it really gets me in touch with how to love you. And I think that's the key, because now things that I look at in judgment or in criticism or in any of that kind of stuff, I'm thinking, well, shucks, that was just me a half a second ago. Who am I judging? Myself. Okay, I got to put that in check, because that was just me. And some of that stuff falls away, and we can begin to really exchange at a heart level with people. And I think that's, when that, like you said, like your retreats, when people are in that mode, they begin to experience and find things out about themselves and others that they never would have found out in a guarded kind of a position, if that makes sense.
Right. And the litmus test for whether it's love or selfishness, right? Self-love or selfishness, is this. If I'm loving myself in a way that it feels like I am separate from other people, then it's ego. But if if I'm loving myself in a way that it connects me to other people, then it is true love, spiritual love. What else is I going to say about that? It'll come back to me in a second.
Yeah. No worries. As we've been sharing this piece, I keep hearing the Ricky Byers song. I love myself so much that I can love you so much.
Yeah.
So you can love you so much, so you can start loving me.
I know what I want to say. Thank you. That's great. That the true test of self-love, that you were talking, Elsie, about that critical dialogue that goes on. The true test of self-love is not loving ourselves when we just did something great. I just did a fantastic interview on New Thought TV, and so easy to love myself then, right? But if I bomb, can I love myself in that moment? If I just made a mistake that cost me thousands of dollars, can I love myself in that moment? If I say something that hurts the feelings of somebody I care about, or do something, can I love myself in that moment? That's the true test of self-love. So what that means is the only time I can exponentially raise my level of self-love is when things are looking, they're bleakest, right? So rather than judging myself, criticizing myself, this is an opportunity to love myself no matter what. That's the phrase I give to people. And I often ask the question of clients, if I feel self-esteem is an issue, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love yourself? And I'm amazed at the honest answers I've got. I've had people say 2, 1. I've gotten zeros. If it's 5 or less, it's the most important work one can do. If it's below a 10, there's room for improvement. So the affirmation I give to people is I love myself no matter what.
I stumbled this morning onto a YouTube clip by, I forget the name. It's a South African chorus. They were auditioning for Americans Got Talent. They sung this song by this young lady she called herself, she's passed away since, it's called It's Okay. Her name was Nightbird. And I would encourage the audience to listen to that, because it's speaking to just what you're saying. And she's since made a transition due to cancer. But the lyrics and the song and the way they sung this, gives you that exact feeling in words and feelings, because you feel the words that they're talking about. She says something like, I moved to California to change my mind, and then I changed my name. Well, I moved to California to get out of a situation. I changed my name to change my mind, and I'm still right there.
Right.
You know, and it's okay.
Wherever you go.
Exactly. Hey, I put that mantra up on the screen for everybody. So we're going to embed that in our consciousness for the next 10, 15 minutes before we end this program. And that's part of how we embody these things, right? Reminding ourselves over and over, no matter what, I love myself no matter what, because we're going to make mistakes. We're divine beings living in these human suits and having these human experiences. We're going to step on toes. We're going to say the wrong thing. But if we can remember, I love myself in this, it's a lot easier to say, and I apologize for what I've just done. I want to make that up to you because I love myself way too much to leave that hanging. I love myself way too much to walk away and leave someone hurt or wondering or questioning who I am and how I'm showing up. Yeah, you're filling us up with some great reminders today, Patrick. Thank you so much.
It's there's only one of us in this room, as my old friend Dr. Mears Jones says all the time.
Exactly. I was at a great talk recently, and one of the ministers said, "How many of us are in this room?" And everybody starts throwing out all these numbers, and he just kind of waited and smiled and laughed. He goes, "There's only one of us. What are you all talking about?" And the whole room was, "Oh, you're right. You got us," right? So it can be easy to slip back into that conditionality, that the oh, I don't like what you're doing, so I don't like you, or I don't like that you're a part of this, so I don't like them. And we manufacture this experience of separation that does absolutely nothing for us, other than take us out of the love. And as we've been talking about all day today, we're here to love. Z, it looks like you're dropping a link in the chat box for everybody. Tell them what we got there.
Yeah. I just put a link into that the rendition of that song by this South African chorus that they were inspired to do because of this young lady, a Nightbird. And I mean, it will touch your soul.
Beautiful. Thank you. Where are we? All right. Well, we are getting towards that point, folks. So we need to take another quick commercial break. Let a couple more sponsors say hello. Give our guest another moment for a sip of water. But we're not done yet. We're coming back with a whole nother segment with Reverend Patrick Harbula, and including our final thoughts of the day. So please stay with us. Stay tuned. Tell your friends what we're doing. We'll be right back with more of New Thought Today.
New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience, or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
And we're back with more of New Thought Today here on the New Thought Media Network. Our special guest today, Reverend Patrick Harbula. So, Patrick, give everybody again a little, a quick rundown. How do we stay in touch with you? What's the best way to connect with you, learn more about your ministry, and all of that stuff?
All right. Well, first off, I'm going to make an offer to your viewers, and that is, and I do this sometimes especially for some of my favorite interview venues, and this one is one of those. So, and that is that I will offer you a complimentary spiritual life coaching session with me if you just send a message to my email. I put in the chat. It's easy to remember, the same title as my book, Patrick at magicofthesoul.com. You can also find our website at livingpurposeinstitute.com. And I just love to do that. It might take a little while, first come, first serve. We're booking out into October right now, but I love to connect with people and love to support them in whatever way I can. So definitely that offer's out there. What else? I'll give you my phone number. You can text me, 805-469-9847. However you want to contact me, feel free.
Beautiful. Thank you. And that's a wonderful offer, folks. If you didn't hear that, a free coaching session, that's not to be missed. That's a great offer, and might take a couple months to get to you, but we'll get, I know Patrick, he'll get to you before, as soon as he can on that. So thank you for that. That's a great offer. Appreciate that. All right. Well, folks, before we do run out of time, again, we want to say thank you for being with us. Please look up Patrick's website, Living Purpose Institute. There it is again. And that email one more time, Patrick at magicofthesoul.com. So, all right, before we run out of time, we always like to save a few minutes at the end for our final thoughts and a chance to kind of wrap these up. And as is the case, I'm going to let Elzia go first, and then that way, between the two of you, you'll cover everything, and I'll have to make something up.
Well, it's been a pleasure just hearing from Patrick and trying to contemplate in my own life what joy looks like. So my final words would be, everyone, take a few minutes and kind of define what joy, what you want joy to be in your life, and if you're experiencing or not. And if you're not, figure out what kind of adjustments. I know I need to take a little dose of that. So that's my advice, if you will, which I know we don't give advice. So that's my suggestion.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Reverend Patrick.
I love simplicity. I'm going to bring our teaching down to the simplest common denominator, and that is this. When we can live consistently from an inner experience of freedom, joy, any spiritual quality, abundance, everything in life lines up with that. We tend to think it's an outside-in game. When I get a better job, when I find my soulmate, when I have more money, then I'll be happy. Never works that way, because that's pushing it out into a future that may never come. If I can simply nurture those feelings, those qualities on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour, minute-to-minute basis, meditation's a great way to do that. Then everything in life will work itself out.
Beautiful. Like I said, folks, they take all the good material and then I get to make something of it. Actually, you both left me the perfect piece of our conversation today, and that is love. Love more. Love more, love unconditionally. And here's what I think is one of the primary keys: start with yourself. It all begins with you. So thank you for being with us. We're going to say it straight up. We love you. You're amazing. We look forward to being with you again. Patrick, will you come back and visit again sometime?
Would absolutely love to. Oh, let me say that the retreat is next month. If anyone's interested, look us up. We might be able to still get you in.
Okay. Oh, wow. There we go. And you can learn more about that on the website, folks. So check that out as well. All right. This is New Thought Today. We're out of here for now. Join us again next week. And of course, I have absolutely forgotten who our guest is next week. Let's figure that one out real quick. We have so many wonderful guests on this. Yes. Next week is Reverend Shad Groverland. Executive Director of Unity Worldwide Ministry. So plan to join us for that as well. And Patrick, don't go anywhere. We'll get scheduled for another appearance once we finish up right here. So thanks for being with us, folks. Until next time, we wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.
Joy.